Hi everyone, and welcome back to Helping Hands Through Haley's Heart. Happy New Year to you all. Because it's 2020 and this is a new year, we're going to dive right into it. So today we'll be exploring the difference between self-esteem versus self-entitlement. The movie No Safe Space has come out recently, and just like anything else, has been very controversial. I want to speak today about this idea, though, of self-esteem versus self-entitlement, because I do think it's very interesting. The definition of self-esteem is confidence in one's own worth and ability. Then the definition of self-entitlement is when an individual perceives themselves deserving of an unearned privilege. It is important to know the difference because a lot of the times we get these mixed up and we feel that one is deserving of another. I, along with many other counselors, have talked numerous amounts of time about self-esteem, having self-worth, but it shouldn't be confused with entitlement. And today there seems to just be this fine, dangerous line that we're walking between the two. So I'm going to talk today nothing about politics. I'm going to talk nothing today about race or religion. I want to talk today about human behavior and why only having entitlement simply just does not work. You have any group of setting. You give an example such as a class of full kids, a church group, a family, any type of group dynamic you can imagine. And you realize that in order to have self-worth, you also have to be mindful somewhat of other people around you. And self-entitlement just simply does not do that. The idea of self-worth and self-esteem that I have talked about in my previous videos emphasizes the importance of confidence, that staying true to yourself is also important. And it is also important when we're stating our opinions, we are feeling good about those decisions because we have to come to a solution where we feel we have learned something about ourselves to improve that ability. When we look at self-entitlement, though, we are not leaving room to hear new opinions of others around us. Our opinion is unfortunately not the only one that matters. It's not only the only answer that we have that might not be the right way to go, but in turn we can learn from others by hearing maybe some of their experiences. But when we're so self-entitled, of course, we don't do that. We just feel we gloss right over it and only consider our experiences, regardless of how limited they might be. And we don't necessarily feel confident about our opinions because we're kind of learning as we go. And we shut others out pretty bad. So evolution is a simple proof of this. We are extremely inclusive beings, and we always have. We have to remember that in order to survive in evolution and thrive, we kind of have to get along with others. And because of this, we have to remember that we do, to some degree, need to get along with people as well. We don't even have to necessarily agree with everything everyone's saying, but we do have to take into consideration to work as a team. And in order to be a successful teammate, whether that's being a partner or a coworker, we do have to hear some people out. There's a saying, 2 heads are better than one. And sometimes this is definitely true. Because sometimes together we come up with just a better solution than maybe if we had decided to do it alone. And we create better solutions. Coming from different perspectives cannot necessarily be a bad thing. We don't have to agree again, but again, along with survival, we are kind of bred into believing that we need to be a part of the pack, so to speak. So when you get self-entitlement into the world, you're actually going to see a lot more conflict. You're going to see more wars, you're going to see more battles, and not that peace and harmony, which I think we're all striving to achieve in reality. In order to accomplish this task, though, we have to get on the same page. To achieve the goal for this new year, we have to be a little bit more open-minded and thinking about hearing from other people's experiences to, I think, gain more knowledge versus less knowledge. So, thinking about this new year, thinking about New Year's resolutions, this might necessarily not be a bad thing. I always say practice presence, but also practice openness. The movie No Safe Space mentions that it's one thing to protect our children, it's another to hinder their growth. And I have to say, there is some truth to this. We need to explore when raising the next generation, are they going to be open to hearing about what we might have to say, or generations before them are going to be experiencing, or are they shutting them out? The more we hide, the less we know, and the less we can then learn better to do. We learn from our mistakes, and let's not be entitled, but remain open, from hearing these new experiences we might not have faced yet, because it could be part of our growth. Freedom of speech was, of course, the amendment that mattered. So I'm noticing a lot now we're getting a little bit afraid to speak at all because of this idea too. We can't please everyone, of course, and in turn, this entitlement is hurting the world that we're living in and possibly future generations. As I mentioned in previous videos, it's one thing to find self-worth, but it's another to find self-entitlement. And this has to be differentiated now before it's too late. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I hope to see you next month.